Okay, we're recording. Welcome everybody to Regenerative Leadership. And before we get started, I just wanted to give the microphone to Silitha to talk to you about UPs and programs and a couple of other things. So Silitha, over to you. Can you hear us?
Sorry, can you guys hear John?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not hearing him.
You can't hear me? Can everybody else hear me?
No, I can hear you, John. It's okay.
Okay.
I hear you perfectly.
Okay, good. Well, glad to hear it.
Yes, too.
Let me unshare. There you go. Now you're muted, Silitha. Go ahead.
Sorry, John, I'm not hearing you. I'm gonna log out just for a moment and come back.
Oh, okay. Okay. In the meantime, let's get things started. So welcome everybody. I just want to do one thing. You all know how to use the chat in Zoom. You're all familiar with the chat function. Why don't you all, don't do anything yet. Why don't you write in the chat where you're from? And then when I tell you, I'll tell you to hit enter, and then we can see where everybody comes from. We've got people from all over the place, which is wonderful. So are you ready? Okay, hit enter and let's have a look. Let me share my screen again.
I can hear you.
You can't hear me? No, you can't hear me? So here we are. Here's everybody. South Africa, Costa Rica, Iraq, Trinidad, Tobago, Costa Rica, Arati from India, Solomon Islands. Phenomenal. This is just amazing. So wonderful to have you all here, and congratulations to all of you who are actually logging in from a very difficult time zone, maybe. Some of you must be very early in the morning. So good for you. Right. So Silitha, we can hear you. So if you want to talk, you can talk. Silitha, can you talk?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yay!
Oh, there you go.
Thank you. Hi everyone. I just wanted to jump in. My name is Celeste. I work for the Center for Executive Education. Maybe you've seen my emails before. I'm so happy that I get to see faces and finally meet you all. I know a couple, but I'm jumping on here just saying hello and giving you just a quick intro. I know a couple are already in the diploma program and you've taken courses before with the center, but just wanted to say hello for those who are new and are starting their diplomas, or they're just taking their first course with us. So let me just share my screen real quick. Let me know when you can see it. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Oh, wait, is it in a presenter's view? Can you see it? Okay, let me go back to the beginning. So yeah, my name is Celeste. I've started not a while ago in the center now. I just wanted to jump in and tell you just a little bit of what I do and how you can contact me in the future. I oversee the open enrollment courses and the ongoing online courses, just like this one. So if you ever encounter issues with your Moodle access or with any operations on your accessing resources, let me know. I can help you with that. I also want to give you just a quick overview on what the University for Peace is and what the center is. The University for Peace was established in 1980 by the UN General Assembly alongside former Costa Rican President Rodrigo Carazo. The university offers master programs in international law, environmental sustainability, peace and conflict negotiations, and human rights. The Center for Executive Education is a department within the University for Peace that offers open enrollment programs or online single courses like this one, diploma programs, as many of you are already in, like the Social Innovation Diploma and the Global Leadership Diploma. Specialized trainings, these are personalized programs we create for corporations. And then study abroad programs or the on-site courses that we give here in campus. Our areas of expertise here at the center are positive leadership, innovation, social impact, entrepreneurship. And with that said, I'd also like to give you an announcement that our next online course is going to be Tackling Finance in the Social Sector on April 4th. So if you haven't decided yet, if you're in the diploma program and you haven't decided yet what course you'd like to take next, the Tackling Finance course is open on April. I'm going to leave you information before I leave the call about the Tackling Finance course. And yeah, this is basically my quick wrap up on the center and the university. As I said, if you have issues with your Moodle access or with any resources on the platform, let me know. You can also contact John. I'm going to be in contact for weeks. Also, the recordings of the sessions are gonna be uploaded after each week, so you can log in and see the recording if you ever miss this session. And yeah, this is me saying hello to you. Hopefully I'll be in touch with you all in the future. And thank you, John, for the moment here to say hello.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, good luck on your.
Does anybody have any questions for Celeste?
No? Okay.
Okay. You're free to go.
Great.
Sorry,
All right.
Celeste, just
Hi,
before
good
you
luck.
go, it's Kerry here.
Hi.
Hi, sorry. Just a quick question on the next courses. Do we reach out to you? Because I think in the past there's been Esmeralda, she's left, Madison has also left, I think. Is it you that we can book them through?
Yes, you can either contact me or Julia. Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No, thank you. I'll give you more information on the chat box before I leave. Thank you, John, again. Bye, everyone.
Sure. Just put your email in the chat and any information. All right. Well, let's get going. So, as you can see, we've got people from all over the place, and we have 18 people in the course. And at the moment, we have 11 of you here, which is great. So that's more than half, which is wonderful. So some of you have added some interesting ideas already to what you consider are major issues that you would like to address. And let me share my screen again just to show them. Then I'd like to go through the course quickly just to make sure everybody understands exactly what's expected, what we'll be covering, and making sure that everything works for you and that you can access the materials. And then we'll talk about the two major deliverables to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Obviously, you may not be able to, but if you can be on camera, it'd be wonderful if we can be as present together as possible. Obviously, if you don't have enough bandwidth to actually activate your camera, that's perfectly understandable. But it is nice when we can actually see each other and work together. So if you can, please do so. So let me share again, just a quick. Some of the things that have come up in your posts so far are these, and I'm sure there are more. I've answered, I think I've answered everybody, but maybe not everybody. So the things that have been mentioned so far are sustainability and sustainable development, which is obviously a core concept of the class. Peace culture in organizations, which I hope Cornelia, you'll talk to us more about that. Corporate social responsibility, leadership of different types, transformational, obviously regenerative, which we'll be looking at here. Positive change, leadership and management, gender and climate justice. There was waste management, food insecurity. I mean, we can go on and on and on, topics that may be relevant to you. The core principle of this course is that I am here to help you figure out what you want to do. Okay. And we'll be talking about that more as we get into the course. So you've all hopefully had access to the first page and to the first week of the course. We're now at the week 1. And here in week 1, we have this presentation, which I'm going to go through very quickly. The expectation is that you see this before we get to the live session, so that I don't need to teach. I'm not going to be teaching very much. The intent here is for you to be very much more active and for us to be interactive, so that we have conversations rather than me telling you stuff, because that's not really what this is all about. Particularly when we get into the regenerative leadership framework next week, which will explain a lot more about why we want to understand how things really work in reality and what we can do to make change happen. Everybody who's here seems to have a strong drive to make positive change happen in whatever field you're in. And if you're not, I don't know why you're here. But if you are, the understanding is that you are looking to actually, you're committed to doing something differently, or not particularly satisfied with how things are going, or are very concerned about what is happening out there as we see a planet in distress with huge issues that we can't seem to be able to resolve as a global society. And why can't we do this? And so regenerative leadership, which is my own research and consulting work and teaching, is part of, I won't say the solution, but a proposal that I'll get into. And the research that I've done into regenerative leadership actually was conducted in business, in education, and in community work and in government. So it's a correlation of the most effective leaders in organizations in different kinds of fields and industries that can actually be used or applied across any kind of organization or community or nonprofit or school or university. And so that's part of the sort of the proposal or the premise of regenerative leadership. So I'm going to go very quickly through this, which in that PowerPoint, I also got some of the deliverables. Does anybody have any questions at this time? I'd rather get sort of the housekeeping out of the way so that we can get down to work. So here, let me get to this. So this is the PowerPoint that's posted. And this is my commitment to you, that this is what I want you to be able to leave the course with. So we'll be defining some of these terms, the difference between sustainability, sustainable development, and regeneration, and why it's important for us, if we're going to be change champions of one form or another, to understand the difference between these concepts and how each of them might apply. I've actually given you a copy of my book, which is divided into chapters per week. So in week 1, you had introduction and chapter 1, then we'll get into chapter 2, which is about the regenerative framework. But I will actually have, there's a PowerPoint there, and I'll be explaining more about that. And we'll be using all of that to inform your project. And then the other piece, which is your personal leadership action plan, which you might have downloaded and done already. Some of you already sent it to me as a draft, and I've provided some feedback. So key outcome of this course is for you to become a change agent in leadership. And hopefully that's what you're looking for, to become a more effective leader wherever you are, in order to make change happen and to understand why change doesn't happen and what to do about it. And so to be able to apply and to differentiate between leadership and management. Some people prefer one or the other. Today, we need to be able to do both leadership and management, if we're going to be highly successful. And then we're going to look at some frameworks that are correlated to sustainability work, and of course the RLF. And the major work that you'll be doing is actually developing, as from today, a project that I will give you, well, I've provided already the template for, that all you need to do is go filling in the blanks, the different sections with your project, and I'll help you with the project. So at any time, if you want to have a conversation with me, just email me and we'll schedule a Zoom call in order to have a conversation about your project. We'll have some time to talk about your projects here in the live sessions. And we really want you to interact with each other so that you do have an understanding not only of what you're doing, but what other people are doing. Hopefully build your own personal network with your peers here of people who are making change happen all around the world, who may become part of your professional network and support you in your work, particularly when things get tough. So the idea is that you will be able to create a project over the next 4 weeks, and I'll give you 2 weeks after the end of the course, that'll be somewhere around mid-April, to finish writing that up and to send it to me in order for me to close out the course and to say, yep, this person has been awarded the certificate, has been approved for the certificate, if that's what you are needing in order to complete the diploma. Any questions on that? Hopefully it's clear. So here are the requirements. As I mentioned, we have in the website, and I sent it to you in my first email, here in the general, the first page, the landing page at the bottom. I thought I had here. Must put in week ones. Here we go. No. I don't think I removed that. Anyway, I sent you the 2 assignments, and I'll send them again just in case. One is
They're
that
in general,
self-assessment.
John.
It was in general. I missed it.
Yeah, it just was, I think, just in that section.
Oh, there we go. Here we go. Yeah, I thought it was
right
here. So if you haven't had a chance yet, please download these 2. This is the Sustainability Change Agent Self-Assessment, where you actually you have a little table, where at the end, where you actually put in your goals. Now, as we go through the course, you might find that your initial goals, you might want to change or adapt or adjust. And if you send me just the table at the end of the questionnaire, not the questionnaire, the answers, how you score yourself, I'll be glad to provide some feedback. Because some people know how to write a goal. Some people are not quite so familiar. Some people know what an action is with regard to how to accomplish a goal. Some people have idea about a timeline and how long it's going to take, or what small actions to take over time, and then what an indicator of success or a key performance indicator looks like. And most people actually put quantitative KPIs or success indicators. So I'm going to improve in my leadership skills 10%, which is very difficult to quantify. How do you know you're 10% better at something? So I would encourage you to think about success outcomes that are qualitative. How do you feel about yourself in terms of your self-confidence about addressing difficult conversations in your organization? Are people coming to talk to you and consult with you about topics that are important to you and generally, rather than ignoring you or going in a different direction? So think about your goals as to what you would like to see at the end of the course as an action plan for you. This is not for me. And I'll be glad to help sort of clarify any of the concepts in the plan so that it becomes something you can use over time and come back to. And as I mentioned, as you go through the course, you may find that you might want to change some of those goals or add to them as new things come in, which are relevant to your work. And then the other is the Regenerative Project, which is that template I was talking about that you can download, and this Word document, just go answering. So you've already provided some initial ideas in that Jamboard there about what you'd like to do, and anything you want to do is viable, is feasible. So whether it's in the tech industry, in agriculture, in consulting, in corporations, in STEM, in education, we can actually find a way to develop a project that considers all the unintended consequences of your and our actions. That's part of what regenerative leadership proposes. But we must understand the unintended consequences of the decisions we make. And hopefully that makes sense. And we'll get into the underlying reasons why things don't work as they should be working. So going back to the The other requirement is that you're required to participate in the discussion forum each week. There's always a question there, and it's important that you answer that question. We want you interacting with each other, not just with me or with yourself, especially if you can't participate in the live sessions. This is the only other opportunity, if you don't participate or can't in the live sessions, for you to actually get to know each other and to say things and to read each other's work, and to then provide feedback or build on your relationships. The weekly reflective journal is also posted in each week. This is optional and private. So if you want to go deeper into a topic and reflect on something that's going on with you or your work or whatever concerns you, and you'd like me to read it and provide feedback, the weekly reflective journal is also included in each week. This is optional. So these are the 3 requirements and then the option. So biggest questions that we have for you, I have for you to think about is, what impact are you seeking to have or grow? And how can this course help you accomplish this? So the first question is for you to go thinking about with regard to your project. That's fine, Arathi, don't worry about it. This photograph actually is from one of you, is actually a graduate from the Amani Institute. I actually did a whole weekend workshop in Sao Paulo on regenerative leadership, and we did a wonderful project in the streets with a very poor community with this whole group. It's just a phenomenal thing, using regenerative leadership. So again, what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to put you all into breakout rooms. You all familiar with breakout rooms in Zoom? Great. Okay, so we got now we got 10. So I'm going to create 5 breakout rooms. I'm going to put you in pairs, and I'd like you to introduce yourselves to each other, where you are, who you are, what you do, and most importantly, what is the thing that is of greatest interest or concern or a passion of yours that you would like to see do more about with regard to possibly the project. So just your first ideas about the project and the underlying causes of why this is happening. This is the key question for the whole course. If we don't understand the underlying or root causes of why things are happening, and that'll be part of the conversation when you come back, we can't make change happen. Does that make sense? So think like a researcher. All right. So let's get into the breakout rooms. I'm not talking so much. Any questions? Is that clear? Right. Okay, let's get 5 breakout rooms going. And assign automatically. So you're going to go wherever. All right. We'll do this for maybe 6-7 minutes, and I'll bring you back. And off you go. All right. Well, welcome back.
Thanks.
All right. So what have you found out about each other? Anybody want to share? Or should I call on somebody? Yeah, go ahead, Rand.
Oh, hey, everyone. I was with Carla, and we were in discussion into her problem, which is it's not a problem for me. It's full of opportunities and solutions, but we need to break down things. She is running. I don't know if she's running or into the project but we will get to that later. The problem is the company that she's working in, they're in a project about the more having more how to say that in English.
Waste management.
Yes, waste management.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to look for the term that you used. Yeah, the problem is that the staff are not committed to this. There is no direct motivation for the staff to solve this problem. So she's kind of looking for this into the between, you know, among the community first, and then when I felt that when this problem is you know, the motivation thing is sorted out, I think that they can apply this more in an effective way. So yeah, that's the root of the problem. As I'm taking the whole time. Carla, do you want to talk about
That's
my-
fine. Carla, what did you find out about Run?
We didn't have enough time, unfortunately. Maybe I talk a lot and only have 1 minute to talk with the project that she wants to lead or to work, but was directly with her job, right? That's correct.
Yes, more organization within my work, because you know, when you're in the middle of a project, or you're reaching your peak with your tasks every day, this will lead to less time with organization, your priorities, your tasks, and all that. So that I felt that might impact the people that I'm supervised. So yeah, this is probably the things that that's just the outcome of this program, why I'm taking this program. So yeah.
That's fine. Let's give somebody else an opportunity. Juan Carlos, what do you, who were you with? What did you find out?
Thank you. I was the opportunity to speak with Kirby, and we found that we have similar concerns about the conscience on environmental conservation, and also the new generations behavior and raise the childs on behalf of people to care about that. As the other colleagues, we don't have enough time to speak several on that. We are from completely different paths. She is an artist and I am an accountant, so I'm doing boarding things, and she do like creation and that kind of lovely thing. So I also asked her to send to me her links to get that kind of inspiration for this course. So we have a lot of interest into how to develop all these concerns and to get a solution for our work that looks like we have like the same. And I share with her that the concern that I have is like all this technology, the new area that it is pushing us to, hey, we need to run, we need to, and we don't have like a second, we cannot take a minute to really develop and to make like this kind of prepared thoughts and think about what we are doing or our future is. The current world is just pushing us right. to resolve and do it faster, better and faster. So that's part of my concern. I think that as this course will help me to find a way to get a solution, or at least develop a better approach for that. Thanks.
So we're going to be having an activity in a few minutes. If you follow me, willing to do it, that might help. Anyway, Kirby, do you have anything to add to that? Can you?
No, I think he covered it really well, what we discussed. And I think just us being from the countries that we are, and being from Costa Rica and me being from the Caribbean, Trinidad, the reason that we care so much about what we do care about, it makes so much sense.
Right.
And I think us being in this course would really help us to navigate what action we really want to take to treat with. It seems like a really huge issue, and it could seem daunting, So it is nice to know that you have partners and teammates who are also trying to walk that similar path with you. So
Great.
it really was a good opportunity. Thank you.
Good. So one of the things we're working on is how to build a team to make change happen. So that could be helpful. We've just been joined by Lauren, who's only got a bit of a break. So welcome, Lauren. We're just talking about people have introduced themselves in the breakout rooms about what they're interested in doing. And so we're just doing a debrief on that. So as you join us, maybe you can share. Kosi, what did you talk to your partner about?
So can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I spoke to Kerry, who is a South African in the UK, and her penultimate goal, the ultimate goal, is to sort of tackle corruption in in South Africa, which I think is an amazing goal. And you know, she will need everyone's help to come together and do this. And she's currently in a transition. She's working in the UK, going back to South Africa. So there's a bit going on right there. But basically we yeah, I think that's as much as our 6 minutes got us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just to give a brief snapshot. Kerry, anything else? What about Kosi?
Yeah,
what did you learn?
I think it was great to meet Kosi. So I think the things that we clicked on was the fact that we're both on a diverging path. So what we've been doing, we're looking for a change. Okay. And then obviously sitting on other sides of the world as well. Always good to meet somebody from a very different context. And there's a couple of people on the call that I've met before. So it's good to have met somebody completely new, and look forward to really spending more time and understanding and getting to know everybody. So I think, yeah, interested in the civil side of things, the social side of things, although of course, the environmental stuff is also very important. And I think that was an area that Kosi was quite keen to pursue in this course.
All right. Okay. Moving on. Cornelia, who did you talk to?
Hi. Yeah, I talked with Laura. We're both from Costa Rica, so we switched into Spanish to make it fast. But still, there was not enough time. But I think we did a very good management of time and end up, exchanging the ideas. So for Laura, what I heard of her is like a very, I think for me, is passionate, which is leadership. And she's in a company that works like globally, and there's a lot of more than 400 people in her department, as I understood well, and different leaders in Costa Rica, leading people in Hong Kong, and the other way around. And it's very multicultural experience and challenge to organize like different cultures and goals that want to be reached. So she's focus on these kind of dynamics and how to make them work for the human beings to be in well-being.
Okay.
A summary.
Laura, anything to add?
Not really. Yeah, no, what I learned from Cornelia is that she's very passionate about trying to make a change, like I think we all are. And she was very glad to find that at UP she could relate to other people who have similar interests and are looking for the same change at a global scale.
So just to cap that, I forgot to put up in the Jamboard a cultural proficiency about how to be able to work with multiple different types of people with different cultures. Again, a key issue in leadership, not only today, but it's been for the last 40 years now, how to work with different people according and respecting different cultures and different ways of doing things. So I've added cultural proficiency to the Jamboard. So last but not least, Jimmy and Arati.
I think let me start first. Can you hear me, John?
Yes, perfectly.
Excellent. So it's 2:40 in the morning. So that's one of the reasons why I mute. I close the video and also.
Bless you and your commitment.
No, good talking with Arati. Calling from Guatemala, originally from India. We share the same situation in terms of working in a workplace, especially on addressing issue and accountability with the team, and also building closer relationship and trust. So it's almost, oh sorry, Nicaragua, not Guatemala. Sorry for that. Blame the hour. So yeah, I think it's around building the the culture of accountability. That's many from my side, and also Arati shared almost the same. But as just like everyone else, we not able to capture everything because of time. But it was a good exercise. Thanks, John. Arati, over to you.
Yeah, go ahead, Arati.
Yeah, so I found what Jimmy shared very interesting in terms of his point was mostly accountability and also communication, lack of proactive communication due to possibly cultural reasons. But like for me, I related to that because a lot of what I'm keen on exploring in the workplace is more from an organizational leadership standpoint. How do we address a lot of the complex interrelated challenges that we have within our organization that have to do with interpersonal relationships and also with the systems and structures that, or the lack of it, that are in place around accountability, performance reviews, around trust, even like trust within the team. And then I think the one issue that I think Koshi also mentioned is he's keen on was mental health and just how that's affecting, like I think it's like a global pandemic and how that affects work and other teammates and the ways in which we show up and turn up. So these are all my current curiosities. I haven't narrowed it down to a one thing yet, but yeah, that's it.
Good. Well, thank you. And then Lauren, would you like to share what your interest is in terms of what is your greatest concern at this time and why you think that's happening?
Sure. Hi, thank you, and good morning or good night or to everybody. Yeah, I'm a school teacher, and so that's why I'm here for just a short period of time. We're here at recess. And I think I work in an excellent school, but I believe that schools should be, like the place where big change is happening. New ideas are being tested and shown, and the generations of young kids are the problem solvers, and they're learning, they're being prepared and given, the tools that they need to succeed in the world that is coming, right? The world that we can't exactly anticipate, but it's, we know the world is always changing. So for me, I think it's really important, or I'm here to learn more so I can help, equip my young students with the knowledge and the skills and the interest and the empathy that they may need for creating a more definitely environmentally sound, fair, just world. The concept of regenerative leadership was brand new to me. I've been familiar with sustainability and sustainable development, but regenerative was a new term, and so I'm excited to learn more about it. What are these that I see here on the?
Yeah, the Jamboard. These are some of the issues that people have brought up. So just added you preparing new generations. These are just placeholders about different topics that people have shared. I'm sure there are more, but I just wanted to capture some of your ideas here as we move on into just a description of what we're going to be doing next. Okay, so anything missing that you want to share? Any questions coming up at this time? Okay, let's get back to work. Good. So we were here in the PowerPoint. So again, very quickly, these definitions. So sustainability is that impossible dream. Sustainable development is what we do to get there. It's a very simple distinction between one thing and the other. They're not interchangeable. They are different concepts. So it's important just to distinguish. And I base my definitions here on the work of Alan Atkinson. If you're not familiar with Alan, he's got a lot of great work done. He was one of the major consultants in the development of the Earth Charter back in the year 2000. So the years leading up to the Earth Charter and the Millennium Development Goals, which have now become the Sustainable Development Goals, which will then expire in 2030. So there's a bit of the background, and I don't want to waste too much time. You can always go and read. I don't want to, again, teach you too much. One of the great things that we're all concerned about is what we call the great acceleration of human impact. And what you see here is in every natural and economic trend on the planet since the 1950s, the ascending curve, this growth curve, is how we have increased our impact in all of these different dimensions, all of which are having negative impacts on the natural environment, the social environment, and the economic environment. So this is just a quick graphic to say, hey guys, we're getting very close to a situation from which there is no return. So obviously the climate agreement, the Paris Climate Agreement of trying to keep temperature below 1.5 degrees centigrade, that's probably an impossible dream. And we're going to have to live with the consequences and to see how we adapt and adjust and mitigate, rather than can we find solutions to the global society that will bring carbon dioxide down quickly enough for us to be able to keep to that top level of 1.5 degrees, which does not seem to be possible. I don't know if you're aware, but climate change actually has a turnover cycle of 40 years. So what we are seeing today in terms of climate change is the consequences of what we were doing 40 years ago. So let that sink in. So we will, even if we go to carbon neutral today, it's still going to take another 40 years before what we're doing today is actually brought under control. So this is an urgent problem for many reasons. Also, this is a very slow moving train wreck, human society and its impact. So again, I'm not going to say very much. This link here will take you to our common future, which is called the Brundtland Report, which was that first time in 1987 that sustainable development was actually coined as a term. But very interestingly, at that time, the sustainable development movement or definition or concept brought in the concept of the people who live in poverty on the planet. It's no longer, as from then, for the United Nations, a concept related to the natural environment only, but about the capacity of people to actually live with dignity and with purpose. So this is a very important milestone. And Brundtland, who actually compiled or did the process of compiling the report, Our Common Future, was the female prime minister of Norway back in that time. Very interesting person, as a matter of fact. There are frameworks about sustainability and sustainable development. The traditional one is the overlap of the three, what we call the three legs of the stool of sustainability, where if we can integrate the three big concepts here, we can actually reach sustainable or sustainability, a sustainable society. More recently, people like Peter Senge have brought out this concept, which is the nested concept, which is more real in terms of the economy drives everything and has the major impact on everything. Whether it's Lauren in the classroom, even though we don't see it, money is driving what we do in such a way that we ignore the consequences of having or not having money and being responsible how we use it, because everything in the economy affects society, and everything in society then affects the environment. So that nested model is a very useful one. And then there's others like the donut, Kate Rayworth's work, but again, you'll be seeing that later. So when we move away from sustainability and sustainable development, this is my definition of regeneration and regenerative leadership. And this is the underlying root cause of every concern that you've brought up. one of the things we do not focus on, which we must focus on first before solving a problem, is to go back to human consciousness. And for those people who are in a science background or an accountant like Juan Carlos, this may be scary, but if we don't go back to our own individual and then collective consciousness, we cannot change the world or anything around us. Why? Because consciousness is what we use to see reality and is what we actually then apply as a lens to reality and to operate on reality. If our consciousness is limited or fractured or fragmented or traumatized or incomplete, we cannot see reality as it truly is. So Cornelia in her post is talking about how the underlying atomic structure of the universe is something we need to talk about. And in this presentation, you actually have a fractal model that I've put together, that I've created, which actually takes a look at what we call the underlying frequencies or structures and laws of the universe and how they operate, and how we are the only species that have actually stepped away from universal law and operate from a rational paradigm that is actually creating all of our problems. So again, just using Lauren as an example, I'm a teacher as well. I came through, I'm an English teacher originally, and then an IB teacher, and then school principal in South America. But anyway, if you're in the classroom, you are taught to, or you're told to teach rationality. That is the operating mantra for everything that we do. It's only when we get into intuition, imagination, creativity, and consciousness and pure consciousness that we can actually begin to understand what is around us. We cannot understand the world using reason alone. This is what's brought us to where we are. Logic and reason, thanks to René Descartes and Francis Bacon and the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment back in the 17th and 18th centuries, are what have created the current paradigm in which we operate, which is absolutely flawed because it does not consider the wholeness of the individual and does not value the wholeness of the individual and the human faculties that we do not value enough to bring them. And one of you actually was wanting to include intuition as part of how you operate in decision making. Well, how do you do that in an organization that will not recognize anything other than a spreadsheet and an agenda that is rational in order to make change happen? And this is where it gets challenging for us who try to understand that there has to be a different way of doing things. And that different way of doing things has to be rooted in something else, because clearly what we're doing is not working. And as Buckminster Fuller said, our organizations are all obsolete. So don't try to change an organization's obsolete. What you might want to do is move away and create your own and allow the obsolete organizations to collapse on their own. So whether it's Kerry talking about corruption, or were you talking about the natural environment, or government, or technology, or education, all of our systems are working on an outdated, obsolete paradigm. And if we're willing to acknowledge that and to at least explore with some fun and enjoy ourselves while we do it, well, what could this look like if it were different? That's your project for this course. Not to do the same thing again and again and again, because repeating the historical mistakes we've made is only going to repeat the unanticipated consequences that we see around us and in ourselves. Does that make sense? So the idea here about the definition of regeneration is this capacity: can we restore the damage we've caused in natural, economic, and social systems, in our own psyches? And can we then secure lasting, desirable futures for all living things or beings? So nobody lives in poverty. All our natural resources are preserved for future generations. Again, going back to Lauren, preparing new generations to do what? Can we create now something that those future generations can enjoy and prosper? And we'll get to the activity in a second. So this is that vision for regenerative leadership. We cannot redesign what we do until we redefine who we are. So we must begin in being. Who are we? Who am I in this particular situation, time and space, in order to then decide how I am going to do whatever I want to do in such a way that there will be no unanticipated or unintended consequences that are going to affect someone else, even myself, or the natural environment negatively. And that will allow me to become wealthy and famous if that's a result, not the objective. And as I said, this is the work of regenerative leaders. So the tone, this is another very important thing. A lot of people, and I think Al Gore has actually done a good job over the last 20 years to change his tone from the disaster to opportunity. Can we actually look at reality today not as we're on the brink of disaster, we're all going to die, therefore we're not going to have children, we're not going to get married, why bother, etc., etc. All of these very depressing, traumatic decisions that we're making based on a negative perspective of the future and the present, and that goes back to the Greta Thunbergs of, you know, sustainability, who all work on this paradigm of sustainable. Notice the terms. Can we shift from we're all responsible? Can we inspire ourselves to find new opportunities? Can we go from we all have an obligation, a moral, economic, social obligation, to opportunities to make positive change happen? So I'm not going to go through them all, but can we move from the left to the right? The tone of the leader in how we make change happen is critical at this time. And it's very easy to fall into the negativity and that scarcity that we all talk about, the limitations, and make it very carefully look at ourselves in the mirror. How do we talk to other people? So think about that. Think about your tone. That's as important as your style and the leadership, you know, type that you believe you are. So can you go from respect to love, for example? Can you have hope for the planet, or can you have faith in people? It's only people that make bad things happen. It's not the elephants, it's not the whales, it's not the dolphins, it's not the ants or the bees, it's us. And so can we believe in ourselves and each other? You don't need to take a screenshot. This is actually in the week 1 presentation. You can download it.
Yes, but it's just I would like to share with my friends, colleagues, because when I saw your video, for me it was pretty interesting the way that we need to change from responsibility to inspire people. So
yeah,
I don't know if I allowed. Thank you.
This is not copyright. This is
okay. It's because I work in a really structured company, and we are like.
Yeah, you can make a poster of this and put it up somewhere and not even talk about it. Maybe somebody will read it and say, wow, that's interesting. And here's that fractal I was mentioning before. Now, I'm not going to go through this because this is a bit complicated. But if do you all know fractal mathematics and the fractal? This concept of the fractal nature of the universe, that everything from the atomic and subatomic is also represented in the galaxy. So the same movement, the same dynamic, and the same interactions occur from the smallest to the largest. And Cornelia, you can jump in on this one, with regard to how everything relates to each other. Everything obeys universal law. That universal law is based on these dynamics, these energy systems that actually interact with each other in very similar ways. So one of the things we look at is, if you can look at a galaxy and a hurricane, they move in the same way, or the drain in your bathtub, or if you go to the atomic structure and how atoms and neutrons move, these all follow similar patterns, and yet we have decided that we cannot disregard or ignore these relationships and operate in a different way. And that has had some of these consequences. Cornelia, anything you'd like to add to that?
Thank you. Yes, Professor. I just want to add that, you know, even though sometimes we want to separate things, everything is connected because there's atoms everywhere. Even the air has particles. So how we move with this air and the atoms is gonna impact in other persons and everything we're making, even by the starting point of thinking. What is your intention behind of what you're going to do? Sometimes I stop doing something because I know it's not the right intention for me. And until I have this solved inside of me and have this good intention to do something, then I go ahead and do it, because then I know it's not going to be a good outcome out of it. Thank you.
All right. So again, big ideas. We'll move on and we'll come back to these. So basically here you have the three pillars of sustainability: ecology, the natural environment, society, and economics. And as you begin to merge them, things get better. So I won't say more than that. If you want to get into more of this, you can certainly do that. Or if you want to talk to me about it, we can take a look at that. Here are the sustainability goals today of the United Nations. Anything you do today can actually look at or connect to any of these different goals of the United Nations. And there are really 16, because this one is more than a goal, is that last P, which is partnership, is we cannot do this on our own. We must do this together. And many of these will be connected to each other. So you can't have decent work in economic growth if you don't eradicate poverty, or if you don't eradicate hunger. So what Cornelia is saying is very important. That's part of the regenerative framework, is we have to get away from fragmentation into integration. Carla's organization, if it's structured, might be very fragmented in silos. You understand silos? Where we conserve grain. Silos are isolated from each other. If different departments in your organization don't communicate with each other, they all have different priorities rather than the whole organization's priority. And therefore people begin to compete with each other for attention, for resources, for money, for whatever it is, for time, for space, for being important. And that competition is unhealthy. And so one of the things we look at is integration. How do we break down the silos through what we call generative dialogue? And just going back to what Juan Carlos was saying about being an accountant, whereas Kirby is an artist, one of the things we talk about here is, can we get the tree hugger to have a good conversation with a CEO in the boardroom? How do you make that conversation happen? That's one of the challenges of regenerative leadership. How do you go up and talk to somebody who's only thinking about the bottom line and the quarterly report, in order to help them realize that they can actually be more profitable if they did things different? Now, how do you get that conversation started? That's part of what we hope this course will help you understand. These are activities for next week. Again, this is in the PowerPoint. Make sure you do post in the discussion forum, which is a requirement. We want to hear. I really want to hear what you have to say. These are just videos that you can click on. Each of you have different industries or fields. So I can't possibly say, watch this one video and everybody will understand. You need to connect to your own field, your own topics. And then the framework, the regenerative leadership framework, will help for you to actually build your project out, if that makes sense. If you want to answer the journal, you can. And here are the questions for the journal, just to reflect about what you've learned so far. Where are you? What questions do you have? And where are you as a leader? How are you going to build yourself up as a leader as you go forward? And so in next week, you will have a couple of things, two major things. Chapter 2 of the Regenerative Leadership Framework, and then which has the framework stuff. And this is one oldie but goodie. In the course, we have some older resources and some newer resources. So some people have actually said, hey, don't you have anything more recent? Well, yes, when it's important and valuable, yes. Majora Carter and Greening the Ghetto, her TED Talk, is still the best thing out there. And Kosi, you've seen it? Okay. So I guarantee I bring.
But I love how you said it.
All right. So there is no reason why we should throw out old things like me if we still have something to contribute. All right. So once I get obsolete, then I'm sure UPeace will say no more. Thank you. There's lots of readings. There's lots of different resources that some of them you will connect to. Some might be less relevant to you. So it's entirely up to you what you realize or you think is important. So I'd like to have an activity at this time just to sort of break the monotony. It's still going to be my voice. Do you trust me to do a bit of an internal exploration? Yes? Okay. Juan
Sure,
Carlos, are
let's do
you willing to trust me a little bit? You can make me
Let's try it.
accountable late. You can make me accountable later. All right? Okay.
I'm also curious to know what it is or what it means before I consent, but
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
just gonna do a visualization. It's a guided meditation. You don't have to do anything embarrassing.
Absolutely.
All right? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So what I could just ask you to do is to close your sit up straight and close your eyes. Just close your eyes. Go ahead, Carla. Just close your eyes. Breathe deep. And just let this moment sink in. Remember, we're talking about getting away from logic and reason. So just close. Let this present moment that will never be repeated ever again. This is a unique moment in the history of the universe and humanity. So it will never be repeated exactly the same. So just close your eyes, relax in your chair, breathe in, sink in this beautiful moment that we're together, and allow yourself just to relax and see if you can. In meditation, we talk about, how difficult or how impossible it is to get rid of all those thoughts and distractions that come into your mind. So don't try to push them away. Just allow them to come through, but don't give them any weight. Just say, all right, next. Just let them go through your mind like clouds. All right, they don't matter whether you're going to be running out to your car in 5 minutes or whatever, or have huge engagements or emails that are waiting for you. Let's just relax for a few minutes and breathe in and just be in the very, very present moment here together. So as you do that now, I want you to actually carry yourself to the end of your life. So take your consciousness to that last moment when you're about to pass over and you're surrounded in that place with the people that love you, your co-workers, your friends, family, children, grandchildren, everybody that knew you, that you connected to or related to at that last moment in your life before you pass over. And listen to what they're saying about you. And in your mind, record some of the things that they're saying about you, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Just give yourself a moment to pay attention to those voices and what people are saying about you at this time, when everything's done and you're about to move to the next dimension or whatever you believe in. So breathe in, record some of those things, and now just transport yourself back to now, and just think about 2 or 3 of those things that they said about you, about your work, about who you were, and think about what the old you would recommend to you, the young you, about things that you should do or would like to do in order for, at the end of your life, for all those conversations to be what you would like them to be. Because that might help your action plan. That might help you to make decisions about what you're going to be doing right away or tomorrow, or things that you've been putting off, or that you realize that you're absolutely on the right path, that you're just building that legacy. And we'll talk about legacy next week, You're building that legacy based on that divine purpose that brought you into this reality in the first place. So think about that for a second. Breathe that in, smile, and come back. All right, so that's an example of getting away from logic, right? This is a nonsensical activity, all right, that might make a lot of sense. So when you talk about intuition, can you build a legacy based on your consciousness? And consciousness, the first thing that comes from consciousness is purpose. How many of you have such a clear purpose that you don't get distracted by other people's purpose? If we don't have a personal purpose, and we'll be getting to this in greater depth next week, more rationally, what happens is that we have to follow somebody else's purpose. So the first thing we need to do from our consciousness is dig deep into it and see, what is our personal purpose? Why are we here? That's the only way we can actually go back to redefining who we are. Who are we truly? Otto Scharmer says, what is myself? Today, and he calls self with lowercase. And what is my future self with uppercase S? That is the big self. And in any project that you create, it's tempting to try to actually share your purpose with other people for them to follow your purpose. That is not regenerative. Regenerative purpose is, how can I help others identify their own purpose and see how their purpose and mine can align in a common purpose? So my mission statement is not I empower other people. I help people empower themselves. And that's a very subtle distinction, but a very important one. What is the biggest thing that gets in the way of positive change? Anybody? From what we say. And we'll be looking at this again next week. It's a very simple thing, but if we can identify it, I can assure you that a lot of your problems will go away very quickly. What is the thing that gets in the way of everything we try to do? Yes, it is negativity, but negativity is a result of what? Yes, good, Cornelia. Ego. Ego is the layer we put around, yes. Ego is what we put around our consciousness. And when ego is not connected to purpose, it actually has unfortunate consequences. And we begin to compete. Because when purpose and ego are not aligned, we actually go after the wrong things or for the wrong reasons. So we go after money. We become selfish, of course. And don't get me wrong, as you will see in the Majora Carta video, the TED Talk, there's nothing wrong with self-interest. But if we go back to quantum physics and what Cornelia was talking about, self-interest has to be balanced with the common good. Yes, fear is a direct result of ego in a particular situation. And fear is not necessarily a bad thing. When facing danger, fear is a very good generator of adrenaline, which might help you get away from whatever is risky and dangerous. But anyway, all of these things bring us down to the lower ways in which we operate, what we call that darker side of being human, which does not allow us to connect to each other at that higher level of creative, intuitive, positive. Everything is possible if we really come together from the heart as well as the mind, and then we can do things which will not have unintended consequences. So, does that make sense? I mean, even Juan Carlos said, like the activity. So, if that happens, if an accountant can say that, then anybody can say that. Okay, so good for you. You're not actually lost yet. in numbers. Good for you. Right.
Thanks.
So, any comments on this? Was the exercise useful? I'm not going to ask anybody to share all the horrible things you have to say to yourselves, because you probably haven't got any. But anyway, was the exercise effective? Did it actually produce something slightly different? Well, that's something you might think about doing with somebody else. This is an adaptation from a guided meditation by a person at MIT I quote a lot, and I've done work with Otto Sharma at MIT, who's one of the most wonderful people in terms of creating regenerative solutions and approaches to social dynamics. And if anybody's interested, I can share some of his work with you. Anyway, any comments on the activity? What did you experience? Did you feel anything different or new? Yes, Arati, go ahead. Absolutely.
Yeah, first off, thank you so much for that meditation. I am a big fan of meditation and mindfulness, and I'm a Vipassana practitioner myself for a couple of years now. And a lot of what you're saying to me sounds in the realm of spirituality, or like a lot of spiritual thought leaders that I consume, like Ram Dass and Alan Watts and so on. So Eckhart Tolle. I'm curious, earlier you talked about bridging the gap between the two opposite mindsets, the tree hugger talking to the CEO. And in the world, I see like this need for the spiritual revolution, or everyone taking to spirituality. And there is equally a counterculture for every movement that's going on. There's equally a counterculture. So how does one bridge this gap? Because I see why it's important to connect with yourself, let go of the ego in order to do work that is in service of others, the planet, and connects to a larger purpose, bigger than ourselves. But how does one bridge that gap if the system itself is maybe built on a different mindset? So.
Yep. This is a great question. This is probably one of the most important questions that you have to answer when you go into a difficult conversation. You cannot go in with your own agenda only into that conversation. The tree hugger cannot go in and scold the CEO, because that will not get a good result. So what do? And let me just put it, we'll be talking about generative dialogue next week. The tree hugger, if the tree hugger is going to be initiating the conversation with the CEO, the tree hugger needs to know what the operating mindset is in the CEO. The assumption will be that it's about money. So one of the good ways to start that conversation with a tree hugger to show how the CEO can make his or her organization more profitable by following some of the environmental principles of tree hugging. And can you show that? Can you actually be smart enough to actually show that the bottom line will be improved? And today companies know that. Even companies like Walmart or Amazon know that if they don't go green, they're going to be out of business, because the natural resources will be exhausted. So companies like Apple or any technology company that is not looking for alternatives to actually recycling e-waste in such a way that you can build a new laptop from an old laptop using the same materials is going to be out of business in the next 30 years, because China has bought all the mining rights to all the precious metals in the world practically. So Apple and Microsoft will be competing against very scarce resources if they try to go after raw material. So a tree hugger in this case would actually show how e-waste can actually be turned into a profitable venture in the United States, for example, not by exporting e-waste to India or to China, where kids get sick going through dumps and obviously picking up the precious metals, but also all the cancer causing materials and toxins that are included in these. So we need to figure out ways how to create those conversations. This is very, very important. You need to know who you're talking with before you go and shout at them about what they're not doing right. This is one of the reasons why many of us believe that people like Greta Thunberg, they're great because they're wonderful to hear and to listen to about climate change. But the way they go about it, when you go back to tone, the tone is not in the right place. It's not from the heart. It's from anger. It's from the lower emotions. This is unfortunate because somebody who has a great potential is going up against the organizations that are obsolete, rather than helping them turn around and become better. And so this is part of that conversation. Greta Thunberg finds it very hard to engage in a dialogue with those horrible old people that are only greedy and only hate, everybody and just want things for themselves and are totally selfish. In that paradigm, there's no conversation possible. In a different paradigm, that CEO, if you can talk about, if you understand their company and what they make, if they're making products that are actually making kids sick, they might actually have grandkids who have chronic illnesses because of the products they make. But you have to find out what makes them tick. If you can have that conversation about, well, do you realize that your company is making X chemical products? Do you have any chronic diseases in your family? Yes, well, my wife, my nephew, suddenly it becomes personal and they become invested. So you start wherever they are. The dialogue has to begin with wherever the person is. If you think of them only as adversary, then that dialogue is not going to work because you're going to come up against them. You're going to attack rather than engage. So the complexity of this obviously is big. You have to be more sophisticated than that CEO. You need to be as smart and as logical. You need to be able to have, I have Juan Carlos Delgado with me. He's got the whole spreadsheet that shows your bottom line if you follow this thing, and here's a projected bottom line if you actually protect the environment and do these things. And actually somebody else also wanted to talk about corporate social responsibility. If you care for your employees, their productivity will increase. They will be taking off less sick days. They will actually make you more profitable. So loving your people is a great way to make money. So, but that again is a difficult conversation. You might not want to start that there, but you can actually bring it down to people's pocket. If you can talk about money and the impact that money, that any new strategies will have on the profit and the bottom line of the organization. And this also goes for nonprofits. Nonprofit organizations have a terrible time because they don't know how to manage money. They are dedicating 80% of their time to fundraising and then going and asking for handouts rather than actually partnering with important organizations. Yes, there may be a bank, it may be a financial institution, it may be a technology company, but they're not all bad people and their money is not necessarily bad. If you can partner with them rather than begging them for help and putting their logo on your t-shirt when you go and do a 5-kilometer run, if they partner, they will give you money that you don't have to come back and ask for again and again every year. And if what you're doing is important and they share your mission and you can have that conversation between the Tree Hug and the CEO, that you have a shared mission that will make them look good and help their marketing and branding at the same time that they're solving a real problem, then they'll be far more willing to say, hey, how much do you need and who do I make the check out to? And let's do this on an annual basis so you don't have to come back. So again, we need to think about money. And one of the things that my wife and I talk about when you talk about spirituality, and there's nothing wrong with money, and it's our job to clean the money. There's nothing wrong with money, it's how we use it. So when ego and money come together, that's bad news. But money and good people putting it to work well actually solves problems. That's part of that regenerative mindset. So before we go away, I just wanted to quickly show the project. Here it is. So don't get intimidated by this. Remember, you have 2 weeks after the end of the course to put something together. Whatever you do, whether it's a business plan, an education program, community outreach development campaign, environmental restoration program, waste management, corporate social responsibility within an organization, all of these can be the focal point of your project. And then all you do is just tell us about why and where. So introduce the project and where you are and what it's all about. And then you just describe what you want to accomplish and how you're going to get there. So basically the same as your action plan, but now this is for a project. And then most importantly is how will you make this happen? How are you going to start up the conversations with your people in such a way that you can start? And always a suggestion is start with one person that trusts you and that you trust, have the conversation, then talk to number 3, then number 4. Don't go straight to the company president or the president of the organization or the chair of the department. Start small and learn to experiment and explore your own capacity to have those kinds of conversations where you're not just using logic, but you're also considering all of the different elements. So you need to consider the environmental impacts, the social impacts, the economic impacts, and also the personal. So the personal purpose. So again, who will you bring to the table? And then here, all I ask you to do is to reflect on how have you changed over the course of the design of the project? What are the benefits of this for your people? And then any final thoughts about how you've grown and the potential of the project to generate whatever you want to do. I have some samples. And for those of you who don't know, I'm from Argentina. So if you want to do the project in Spanish, that would be fine, particularly if it's more relevant to your context. I can do a little bit of French, but I'm not good enough, and that's it. So English and Spanish, fine. So if you're going to do something that's going to be in a Spanish-speaking organization, certainly do write your project in Spanish. There are a couple here of samples that are in Spanish that you can read, and I'll be sharing them later. I don't want to share them early. I want you to get your first ideas down at any time. Send them to me, and I'll be glad to discuss them with you. So that's a bit, well, I also have here for those of you who haven't seen it, and we'll close here, is this change assessment, which is the other deliverable. So all of this questionnaire is for you just to score yourself from 1 to 5. And at the end, there's a little table, a little example. All I want is for you to copy and paste this into a Word document, create your own goals here, just follow these suggestions, create your own and send it to me for feedback, and that's done, okay? Questions? It's 11:29 my time, so we're 1 minute away from the end of the class, but I'll stay on for a few minutes if anybody wants to talk. Does anybody have any questions at this time? Or any comments? I'm hoping this is useful and interesting enough for you to continue and to look into. Next week, it's going to get a lot more exciting. But do watch that Majora Carta video. Anybody? Yes, Kosi, go ahead.
Question. Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, Kosi and then Arati, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that, Arati. But it's more of a comment than it is a question.
Sure.
I must say, I am so much more comfortable with this course now, because initially when I had just opened up the general and week 1, and I was going through the readings, I was like, oh my God, this is so heavy and so boring. And then we haven't even started. But after hearing you speak and after getting like a little more familiar with you, it feels so much more manageable now, and it feels so much less intimidating, and it's so much more enjoyable. And so like that was literally that was the entirety of the comment. Like, I feel much better. I like your style, I like your flow. I think we're going to have fun with this. Well, I know I'll have fun, so thank you in advance.
Well, I appreciate it. The intent is for us to be able to have a decent life and enjoy ourselves and make ourselves happy and others happy while we solve problems at the same time, and hopefully give everybody an opportunity on this planet to be happy, even though we do face really very, very difficult challenges. So Arati, then Kerry.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that, Koshi. I think it's beautiful that you brought in the appreciation and gratitude, and definitely resonate with that. And it's important to embrace that more. The question I had was, next week I'll be at the Gross Global Happiness Summit, and it's gonna probably be clashing with the course. So just wondering about that. I know this is self-paced, but is it just about catching up if we miss something? And also, is someone going to be there? I'd love to meet you all in person. That's it.
Okay. Where is it happening?
It's happening at UPeace. It's at the University for Peace. And then the week after that, I'm also taking their positive leadership course in person on site. So I was just wondering how that might affect the flow. That's it.
That's fine. You just carry on with the work. Just to go back to Kosi, what he was saying, one of the things I say is I always like to be over-prepared and under-structured. So there's a lot of materials in here. The intent is to not do too much, but put as much as I can in here, and then to respond to people more spontaneously as to where they are, and for them to pick up what they see is relevant to them from the material. So I'm not teaching every material and every reading, or the expectation not for you to read everything, but to go picking up, to browse everything. I mean, go window shopping, but then extract and select what is most relevant to your work and what you want to do. And then we could talk about it if you want to have an individual conversation. So yes, don't feel intimidated at all. I've taken out a lot of stuff over the years to try to keep it streamlined. And even so, there's still a lot of this mass of material, and I could do this. This could be a 2-year course, and we're still not.
But there are some key principles that are really important. Can you hear?
And those key principles are consciousness, understanding your ego, connecting to purpose. After that, everything falls into place. And as soon as you lose purpose, that's when you get distracted. You start doing stupid things. And that includes me. So I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect at all. So Carrie, you had something to share?
Thanks, John.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think also just a reflection that.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just a reflection that certainly the meditation, which was unexpected, was quite good at sort of centering your whole point around the ego and the self, sort of personal purpose. And I thought that was really quite powerful. And I wasn't really sure what to expect from the course. And similar to, Corsi's observation, this has really helped to focus it. I also wasn't quite sure how my sort of very embryonic view on what can we do about corruption, and by the way, not just about South Africa, that for me is a global scourge. It just has different forms and certainly different levels of sophistication. So I'm quite keen to understand how I can leverage this to really try and kind of become more succinct about what it is I'd like to do in that space. So yeah, thank you. It's been a good start.
Great. Well, again, delighted to hear. In terms of deliverables, there was a question. The action plan, send it to me over the next few days at some point. The project, remember, is due 2 weeks after the end of the course, which, as I said, was about mid-April. So that'll give you 6 weeks or 5 weeks at least to scope. And remember, you won't be able to do very much with the project. The intent here is for you to be able to actually create something as a business plan or a campaign or a program or something that will actually make sense, and we'll discuss it. You'll be sharing. We'll be looking at examples. I want you to give shape to something that you'll feel confident and comfortable about, then taking forward and actually sharing with other people. All right, and there's many comments in the chat as well. So thank you all for the comments and for reacting to each other. So that brings us to the end of this week, and next week we'll be at my time, 3 p.m. EST. So that gives people who are on the other side of the world maybe a slightly easier time to join. And the intent is to be able to provide some opportunities for people to come in at different times. But of course, the recording will be put up on, let me just show that where that will be. Week 1. So that will be placed recorded session. You'll see that. See under, here's the PowerPoint presentation that we went through. Here's the recorded session. So that's where the video will be of this particular session. So just go through the materials. Do watch Majora Carta because that's one of the, that'll be the reflection in the forum. And then we'll discuss that and the regenerative leadership framework next week. So guys, I'm letting you go. So have a great weekend. If anybody wants to stay on for a minute, I don't mind. And we can take it from there. Wonderful to have you on board. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Take care.